Hello, my name is Ben, and I am your host of the Too Vague podcast this week. I hope you had a great Boxing Day. This is the last week of the year, which is also when Boxing Day occurs on Monday. And I don't know how much you guys know about Boxing Day, but we're going to talk about that a little bit coming up here. I hope you had an excellent holiday. I bought a present for myself, which will be getting a lot of use, I think. I'll give you a hint. It was written after the fictitious robot in a Steve Guttenberg movie. Or, for you folks who are fans of Latin, it's the initialism for postscriptum and the number I always refer to as the Gutenberg. That's your hint. I've been playing that a lot. I've been doing that and also working on episodes coming up, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. First, let me just give you some facts about Boxing Day. For those of you who don't know what Boxing Day is, it's the holiday that's celebrated the first day after Christmas. It originated in Great Britain. It is celebrated in Commonwealth countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand. I first encountered it when I worked in Canada up in Edmonton, Alberta, which was pretty wonderful. I had a lot of fun there. That's where I got my Canada pants. When I was up there, I was in Canada for Christmas, over Christmas actually, working. I was pretty new to Arizona, and I thought to myself, I've been told I was going to go up there and teach people how to support a version of a software package. And it was very short notice. It was like within a week. They said, you're going to go up there. And I said, oh, yeah, that's awesome. I thought to myself, you know what? I'm from Chicago. I'm sure I have winter gear. No big deal. So I packed, and I realized the night before I had no pants. I just had my shorts. That's what I took to Canada. Shorts and some insulated underwear to wear underneath my shorts. Just when it got cold, I had a winter jacket. I just no pants. So anyway, I was the guy with no pants. I was the shorts guy, essentially, for that whole time I was out there from October until about March. For Christmas, the folks that I worked with did something really nice. They all pitched in and they bought me a pair of pants, which I now call the Canada pants. And they're really nice fleece-lined pants. But I thought to myself at the time, I was like, well, I don't wear pants in Arizona. It's going to be very infrequently that I use these. So when I left, I asked the folks who gave me the pants if it would be okay to get everyone to sign them. So I've got this pair of pants that has all the signatures of people I met when I was in Canada. And those are the Canada pants. It was a great way to remember. And I actually use those pants for skiing too. And you can tell they're the Canada pants because there's a little Canadian flag pin on them. It's a good conversation starter when people say, why do your pants have all these different things on it? It's really neat. And it's also a good memory for me of Canada. That's where I learned about Boxing Day. Once again, holiday celebrated after Christmas Day, originated as a holiday to give gifts to those of lower income. And it originated in Great Britain and is celebrated in your Commonwealth countries. Boxing Day is concurrent with the Christian festival of St. Stephen's Day, which is celebrated in parts of Spain, Czech Republic, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Netherlands, Italy, Poland, Slovakia, Croatia, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Belgium, Norway, and Ireland. I don't know why they just didn't say the rest of Europe. Oh, and also some trivia for you. St. Stephen is the patron saint of horses. It is not exactly known how Boxing Day technically originated. But according to my research, I've identified two possible origin points. Both of these kind of revolve around people of lower income and helping people out. One explanation is that it's from opening the church donation boxes that contained all sorts of food and clothing and items for the poor. And that occurred after Christmas Day in churches. So that would be sort of a unboxing sort of relationship there. So some people say that it's that, and then others, the one that I've heard, is it originated from the practice of giving boxes to employees the day after Christmas because they were working during Christmas. Like, for example, servants. They had to work parties and celebrations of their employers. So after, they got to celebrate with a Christmas sort of bonus and all sorts of other donations and whatnot. I'm not sure, but this kind of sounds to me like it's also the origin of how holidays can work as far as Christmas bonuses are concerned. I mean, it just seems like that is a natural sort of progression. So that's kind of an interesting sort of history or trivia of Boxing Day. These days, one of the things I was told by a coworker in Canada was that Boxing Day was sort of a day you can donate your time and be helping the less fortunate. And then also, naturally, it's a shopping day. So people either take it as that, just a shopping day, or they take the time to actually donate their time and effort to those who are less fortunate. So, very cool. So, before we get into a specific video game I've been playing recently, we recorded a show last week with my friend Paul, who's been on the show before. We had a conversation as a warm-up, which turned into a very long clip, but it had a sort of a through line that made sense. So this is about a half an hour of conversation that we had to open up the trivia show. Take a listen. It goes all over the place, but that's pretty much the show. So if you're used to the show, you'll be enjoying this clip. Yeah, you're not into gaming stuff like the up-to-date gamings, but
not so much.
They've got a new game called High on Life, where it's the people who did Rick and Morty. So it's like that sense of humor and those actors and stuff. But it's your guns talk to you, and you have conversations with your guns as a part of this whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's getting, it's like one of those things where it's like either it hits with you or it doesn't. But it's like, Rick and Morty. I don't want to listen to a Rick and Morty routine while I'm playing a game necessarily. It's like he sounds just like Morty. One of the guns. I mean, I guess they probably have different voices.
Yeah.
Do you like the show Rick and Morty or no?
Yeah, but I haven't seen past like season 3. I didn't really keep up with it too much.
It's getting to the point where it's like, it seemed to be clever a lot of times. It was like they had things where, okay, that's kind of a clever bit or whatever, and they do references to things where it's like, oh, that's an interesting like deep cut kind of reference.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was on season 3, but there was a reference to the movie Zardoz, which is this crazy Sean Connery movie. It's, had a floating head, this floating stone head. It was...
so is that what the show me what you got or whatever?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's the one Raising Gazorpazorp.
Yeah, okay, I've seen that one.
Yeah, that's the one that has the floating head because it is a parody of the movie Zardoz. It's kind of the same thing where there's a society that lives above and then the lower quote unquote society is all, warlike.
Okay,
yeah. But anyway, the floating stone head. Do you have your phone?
Oh, yeah.
It's a really weird kind of movie, but I kind of like it. My dad also kind of liked it. Speaking of all this stuff that dad liked it's interesting how many things you like liking stuff gets transferred from father to son a lot of times.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Look through here we go. I'm sending it to you now, by the way.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What the hell is... Oh my God, is that
That is Sean Connery.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot that was where this was coming from. Like that was the relevance.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, no, that's from the movie. That's from the movie itself.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
The knee-high boots.
Yeah, that's
everything else.
Yeah, that's a good look. And look at a ponytail and the crazy kind of like. But anyway, if you look at and the director, I think it was Richard Boorman was the director. Before that, he did Deliverance. So this was just kind of like a weird sort of like, okay,
yeah,
like shift into a weird sci-fi kind of story. But yeah,
That's bizarre.
Yeah, well,
I might have to watch the movie now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I just have to see like how that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Just that picture.
It's post-apocalyptic future Barbarella. That's kind of how I would explain it to someone. Are you familiar with Barbarella? Probably not. Barbarella is like an old 1960s movie with anyway, it's like, it's all about sex and love and hippie. It's all hippy dippy shit. In fact, it's also where Duran Duran got their name.
Oh, okay.
Because there's
look, there's some trivia.
Yeah, exactly.
See?
Exactly. See, I'm kind of warming us up with trivia here. But yeah, there's Duran Duran has their name from that from
Barbarella?
From Barbarella.
Huh. That's my mom's favorite band, by the way.
Duran Duran?
Or at least, yeah, one of them. She has like 2 or 3, but...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That was my first concert.
Right on, yeah.
That was my first concert ever. Well, it's kind of close between that and Huey Lewis and the News, but I believe this was just days before Huey Lewis and the News. We saw Huey Lewis and the News at Milwaukee Fest. They had a festival, a music festival. And,
okay.
And Mom wanted to go see Huey Lewis and the News. And she's like, there was a big line to get into the auditorium. And this guy started going, security, security, and making his way through. And he wasn't security, and making his way through the crowd. So Mom grabs her hands and goes, let's go. And just follows him.
Hell yeah.
We found a tiny spot, which became a very large spot that could fit us. And yeah, and Duran Duran, my dad took me to go see Duran Duran, my dad and stepmom. One of the things was, it was when I was like, I don't know, 6th grade. And I invited a girl to go with me. And it was like, I invited this girl named Terry Taupe. She was really into Duran Duran, and all the other girls were like, well, she's just using you for the tickets and blah, blah, blah. And then I had to go to the school nurse's office because I was confused. It's stupid, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, Duran Duran. It was 7 in the Ragged Tiger tour.
Right on.
Yeah. If you've ever seen the video, the Reflex, it's like, that's what it looked like. Those big pillars and lights, and that was the concert. It was just like that.
Cool.
So anyway, I don't know where I was going with this. Okay, so we're going to start the show very shortly. Let's see if Norah is available.
Hello.
Hello, Norah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is me. And then we also have Paul.
Hi, Norah.
Oh, Paul? Hi. Hi, Paul.
We're just about to record our trivia episode.
Oh.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yes. I like trivia.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Yeah.
I will be saying as much in the episode. But
So,
I've got trivia stories. I'm telling that one about Tom.
which one? I forgot. I'm old.
The one with Tom and the word epitome.
Oh, yeah. Epitome? Come on.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
it
yeah, right, exactly.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
do you have any questions before we get ready to do the show?
Oh, Lordy.
Questions from my aunt, maybe?
No, I don't. I find that my brain, as an old person, my brain is so full of trivia. Nothing important, but I don't know. I just have so much junk in my brain. And, where's it going to go? As you get older, it just stays in the brain.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just sort of.
No, that's...
yeah, I mean... Yeah, I could relate to that already. I feel like, you just pick up stuff here and there, and you never know when it's going to be, like, coming up again, so...
Right, whether it's important or not.
Right. And,
it's
sometimes it doesn't even matter if you want to remember it. It just sticks around for whatever reason, so definitely get that.
Right.
Paton Oswalt has a... are you familiar with stand-up comedian Paton Oswalt?
Yeah.
Yes.
On one of his specials, he does a bit about how he can recite the entire Rutger Hauer part when he's dying from Blade Runner from beginning to end.
Oh, really?
But he can't remember whether or not he has to blow in the mouth or the nose to do baby CPR. He can't remember baby CPR, which he just learned, but
that's so funny. See, there you go. Like it sticks for
like
whatever
that kind
reason.
of thing. It's like, well, why can I give up some of that space?
Funny trivia about that
Right,
scene,
right.
actually, because I have it fresh in my head right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that actually was supposed to be a lot longer of a speech, but I guess Rucker Hauer didn't want to be out in the rain that long, so he shortened it a bunch. So,
Huh.
yeah, there you go.
So it was because Rucker Hauer. It's Rucker Hauer's fault.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fault, fault, or
If he had a little more tolerance for rain and general wetness, you know, you may not be able to remember that whole quote.
The seas of blah 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 blah. Okay.
Cut all that out, and then lost in time.
They probably cut out the part where he said blah blah blah.
Yeah,
right.
The size of fire and blah blah. Okay,
Blah, blah.
I get the point. Let's just go to the end. And anyway, did you like that movie, Blade Runner?
Who are you talking to?
Yes.
It was okay for me. Tom watched it all the time. That's my husband who isn't with us anymore. But anyway, he watched it all the time, so I saw it a few times.
Yeah, Dad really liked that movie too.
Yeah. I think that's the only thing that my husband Tom and your dad had a lot in common about.
Oh, really?
Blade Runner.
Did you both like Blade Runner a lot?
Yeah.
It is pretty awesome. It didn't click for me the first time. I had to see it maybe 2 or 3 times before I was like, all right, I really like this. But
when I first saw it in the theater, we actually saw it in Indiana at the theater near South Lake Mall, that theater.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we saw it. I was so bored by it. Like,
really?
Part of the way through it, I got, and I didn't understand what was so cool about it. It wasn't like, it really didn't hit with me. It was like Star Wars hit, but that didn't.
Yeah.
For some reason. Maybe it was too cerebral for my young age.
I'm telling you, the same thing. When I saw it the first time, it did not click at all. I was bored. Yeah, I was only watching it because I wanted to, give it a chance or whatever. But
and I think, maybe a year or two later, we saw Return of the Jedi in the same theater.
Yeah.
With Grandma, with your mother.
Wow.
She took Adam and I to go see Return of the Jedi.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And she'd never seen any of the others before. She didn't know any of it. And she's like, we're talking to Grandma, like, oh, hey, Grandma, did you like the movie? And she says, oh, yeah, I didn't really like that Jabba the Hutt. He was gross.
Yeah.
but other than that.
Me too. Yeah.
Not a fan of Jabba the Hutt.
That's so funny.
The movie was pretty good. She was surprised that she enjoyed it as much as she did, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would think there are definitely parts that she would think were cool. Well, whatever she would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old was she? She was like my age, right? Maybe a little older.
She was your age.
Yeah, this is when I was a teenager, or like before a teenager. So like I was like 12 or something.
12 or something.
Yeah. And then she must have been like 50s, 60s.
Yeah. Somewhere in the inner 50s. Yeah. Right.
So as old as I am.
Youngsters. People in their 50s are youngsters. That's right.
Yeah. Crazy kids today with your Zima and your hula hoops and your Pac-Man video games. And get off my lawn. Dan Fogelberg. Anyway, that's BASEketball.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with BASEketball?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Nora?
What? Am I familiar with what?
BASEketball?
What's that?
The guys who do South Park and Book of Mormon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was a movie they did. That was, I believe, their second movie. I want to say their second movie because I think the first movie they did was Orgazmo.
Okay.
Which was about a guy who was Mormon, but he gets into porno. and anytime he has to actually do anything porno, they have to get the stunt cock. So they just yell stunt cock, and then a guy replaces the dude. But he's just like, yeah. Anyway, stunt cock.
Not familiar with that one, but
anyway, BASEketball is the second one, or the second one that they did. But it's about these guys who make up the sport BASEketball, and the BASEketball gets big. And anyway,
okay.
The older guy who does that whole thing where it's like you crazy kids today with your Zima and your hula hoops and your short attention spans and Dan Fogelberg, and you're going, Dan Fogelberg? What? Anyway. All right. Well, I guess since we don't have, do you have any trivia?
Trivia. Well, I looked I just looked up, do androids dream electric sheep?
Right.
Because I didn't know who wrote it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
Yes.
Don't look it up. Okay.
No, I know.
He knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I being old, I am, my old brain, until you just said the first syllable,
Yeah.
I didn't realize, I knew who it was, but I have to think about it. And then Philip K. Dick.
Well, I'm not a science fiction person.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I did read, I read some, I was reading a little bit to try it out, because my husband was, and I really did not like anything Philip K. Dick wrote.
Oh, really?
Huh.
But I didn't realize he wrote this. It was a short story or short novel or whatever. Yeah.
And from what I hear, it's not even exactly recognizable. It's just a sort of a concept, and they took the script from the concept.
It's very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was some trivia.
Yeah, there you go.
It always pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you
Right.
had we also talked about the director of that movie, Ridley Scott.
Oh yeah.
And you know that iconic commercial where there's the lady, the Apple commercial, the 1984 Apple commercial.
Yeah, with the sledgehammer.
Yeah. That was directed by Ridley Scott.
Wow, did not know that actually.
Yep. Ridley Scott directed that, and all those people with who were in the audience, who were all those guys, skinheads, actual
ex-cons and
neo-Nazi skinheads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really weird.
Hey, you guys want to make a buck?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they did. They all, interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there you go.
So much trivia out
they don't
there.
have to shave their heads. They become pre-shaved.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So anyway,
cutting out the middleman.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So nothing else. We just got our trivia Jones.
Right. And enjoy all the little bits of trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Do you have one? And I want to involve Norah in this just because I want to make her laugh more. So your episode can be either 68 or 69, depending on what I do. And 69 has already been requested by Arden. He wanted 69.
Sure. Okay. That's fair.
So I mean, if you want,
what's his episode?
His episode is Chaos.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Okay.
You could take that one.
Okay. So I don't have to give you 69.
Well, yeah, please don't. At least not tonight. Marilee's not in town, but
yeah, the other alternative is giving Norah 69.
Oh God.
Yeah. So let's not even go there.
Well,
when I taught 8th grade math and sometimes 6th grade. And when I was making worksheets or test questions, I made sure they didn't have an answer of 69 because the kids were, this all sounds like 6th grade, mentality.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Right.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good foresight.
And let's not even talk about the calculator thing where you'd do the numbers upside down and make boobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Paul knew exactly what I was talking about when I said calculator.
That's a timeless one.
Boobs. Yeah. Anyway. Is that
okay.
All right. 5. Is that 5 or 2?
For
the S.
I think it's 5.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, 5 is what it looks like, but backwards it would be upside down. Anyway.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
8008.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
I just want to say boobs again.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, well, we're getting boobies.
Yeah, and you could do boobies too. That was the other one because of 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
easy enough.
Yep.
I miss teaching those youngsters. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, do you?
No.
At any time, have you ever gone, I wish I could see those kids again?
Maybe 1 or 2 of the kids.
Okay, so specific kids, but not like, I really miss teaching.
No, because teaching changed so much.
Oh, okay.
Like if it was like the first 10 years I was teaching, great. I'd love to, go back and help and stuff. But no, it's just changed too much.
Towards the end, it started to get like
too bureaucratic, or
like what? Oh,
like too bureaucratic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely that. Plus, the accountability was only on the teacher, not the student, not the parents, not the administration. Whatever happened, poof, it was
Definitely
us.
could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you stopped teaching, it was like early 2000s?
2010.
2010. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking early 2000s sounded exactly like that. Like
that
overall shift. I mean, that was when I, was in school and stuff. But
that was also.
So you were one of those.
Yeah, I was prime. Yeah.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Anyways, so. But yeah, that's also around the time when that was happening in the business industry kind of thing too, where it was like, you'd have these surveys and it was all about the person who was providing the service and not about the person who was giving the opinion. But I mean, it's different, right? It's business, and part of that is true. But if you've got a person who's difficult and is never going to give you high marks, well, I mean, that's how are you supposed to do anything about that, right?
Well, they just get mad at me when that happened.
Yeah.
Because I used to do that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Only if it was bad. Only if they were bad to begin with. The administrators. I wouldn't do it if they weren't bad. But I was just honest. I didn't. I was honest. I wasn't being a.
Oh, okay. So when you had your rankings of the business itself, gotcha.
So anyway, you guys go on and get about your business.
We're gonna get about our business.
Yeah.
And I hope it's a good.
It will definitely be good. I got Paul here. I want to get Paul on more frequently because he's a smart guy.
I remember. Yeah, I remember from the other ones. But
I'm flattered.
So, and to think I worked with his dad long ago.
Oh yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, so crazy. And it's like, I don't know if I'm making this up in my head, but it's like, I remember you as a young kid.
Well, I did go there for the take your kid to work day. So that's probably when you would have seen me.
Do you remember any crazy multiply pierced weirdo? Because that would have been me.
Well, I know that's what my dad said, but yeah, I can't say I do. I think my only memory of that day, is we went through this one spot and there was the leader guy, whatever, that was, walking us around, giving us a tour of the place.
Uh-huh.
We went through the financial division and he had us all yell show me the money.
Oh.
And it was so awkward and uncomfortable. Everybody just kind of looked up at their desks at us and were like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Great. All right.
That's probably my number one memory of that day.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well,
right.
this is great. I hope you guys have a good evening. I'm having a good one. Thank you.
Okay,
good to hear.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be recording next week, right?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
Well, we got two ideas.
Okay.
One idea is mystery and the other idea is art. And I don't know which one we're going to do first.
Oh, it's a mystery.
Yeah, it is a mystery.
Right.
I mean, are you okay with either, or do you rather do art?
Let's do art because I've been thinking about that more.
Have you been playing the game?
No.
Norah.
I've been busy.
I know.
Going to the grocery store and stuff.
Okay, well, fine. I mean, if you can get past it is an interesting game, very multiple layered. It's like reading a book. So far as it's deep, but it's it's got some deep parts to it. But unless you play it,
Right. Yeah, I know. And it's one I am interested in. So
okay, all right.
So you guys go on about your business.
Okay,
all righty.
I just don't want to take all your time.
Okay.
So all right.
I will talk to you later,
I'll
Norah.
See you later.
Okay.
All right. Till next time.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
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 Okay.
All right. I already have to use the bathroom. I was downing that drink, man.
Oh, okay. All right. Go for it, and then we'll start.
Okay.
All right. Give me a chance to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Oh, that game was Immortality, by the way.
Immortality?
Yeah. It's
the one you were talking about.
Yeah, it's a Netflix game.
Oh, yeah. I think
Aluminum linoleum, aluminum linoleum, aluminum linoleum.
I had to take a little peek.
Yeah. 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 It is. Yeah. It's like Dad used to have it in his office. When he had an office. Yeah, the same one. I think it has a crack in it, but I mean,
whatever.
I can get it. I mean, it's a poster, so if I wanted to get a new frame for it, a new frame and glass, I can just take it to the Great Frame Up or whatever framing. Yeah, no, seriously, there was
what it's called?
Yeah, there was a it was in the mall. It was one of those standard mall stores you would see in every mall. It was called the Great Frame Up, and it was just a place where you would do your own framing. You would pick out a frame, and then they have a frame table, and it was a DIY framing place.
Right on.
Yeah. I think DIY stuff, like back in the mall days, that's really interesting, like that kind of thing, like Build-A-Bear Workshop or whatever.
That's so funny. One of my coworkers was just super paranoid because of our location, our store.
Right.
She had like a bunch of Build-A-Bears in her car and was like, oh, they're going to get stolen. I'm like, yeah, because that's what these homeless people are trying to get after.
Exactly.
They're going to steal your Build-A-Bear or take it to a pawn shop.
No one wants that shit. No one wants your dumbass bear.
Nobody wants that fucking... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at this creepy doll.
Yeah. Ooh.
But anyway.
Pay money for this.
I understand that there are like, a lot of people customizing. Like there's Hasbro has a, like you can make like an action figure that looks like you now.
I kind of want that just to
like
put it in funny places.
You can put a G.I. Joe. You can make a G.I. Joe that looks just like you. And do you know
how much it is? Probably like $100 at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it's in Hasbro Pulse is the name of the website. You can buy like, not super popular stuff.
Oh, okay.
That Hasbro more interesting things that Hasbro will sell. Not like standard Toys R Us stuff.
Sure.
Hasbro Pulse. Where fans come first. That sounds very generic.
Yeah.
Where fans come with extension cords. Choose your location. I am not in the United Kingdom. Okay, so on the front page it has this dude who has a Power Ranger that looks just like him.
That's incredible. I mean, I can't see so much of the Power Ranger, but
yeah.
I will.
But is
it a pretty close likeness? Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can do. I mean, it's got like all sorts of different characters you can do, and a lot of these figures are the larger ones. The more like you can also at this Hasbro Pulse site buy a lot of these special edition Star Wars figurines that people collect.
How come I have a different guy? What's up with that?
What does your dude look like? What is he holding? I can't see that far. Is it a Power Ranger?
I think this looks like Star Wars, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is Star Wars, but it's not. He's got like a sword though. That like not like a lightsaber. He's got like a, I don't know.
Custom figure. Okay. Selfie Series. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Hasbro Pulse Selfie Series.
$60?
That doesn't sound super bad.
I was thinking my $100 was too low. I was thinking it was like $250 or something.
And it looks like featuring, oh my gosh, there's a pretty good selection here. It looks like Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Marvel, and Ghostbusters.
That's actually pretty cool.
The Ghostbusters one would be, I think, the best, personally, but...
Fun Paul trivia. I actually broke my leg wearing a red Power Rangers costume when I was 5 years old.
Well, there you go.
So I could get that and then make it look like me and then just snap the leg in half.
And then just like, yeah, like this is me when I was 5. But you'd have to get a photo of you when you're 5 to them.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want like an action figure of a 5-year-old on me. Yeah. Even if it was myself, I wouldn't want to have to like explain that.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
No, it's me.
No, really.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Yeah, it looks like you can go to the App Store. I guess that's where you scan in your face is through the App Store. There's a Hasbro Pulse app, and then I guess you send it with there. Anyway, interesting. So if you want to be Dark Phoenix, I wonder if they have any transgender kind of things where you can do like, you can put your like man's face on a woman's body.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, I'm sure you probably can.
like, oh yeah, I'm sure there would be a
I
lot
think
of.
the drawbacks of limiting that, like not allowing that, would far outweigh it.
Oh God, yeah,
the bad PR.
And that's the thing too. It's like people want, like, like Spider-Man. I mean, people who do cosplay, they're gender bending kind of things too, where it's like, you want to do a female Spider-Man or whatever.
Although, I am reading right here. It says that the figures are available for 16 and up fans. So I don't think my 5-year-old broken leg can happen.
No,
They might reject that.
Yeah,
as they should.
Right.
Anyway,
well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Since 16 and older.
Yeah.
Can you make one that looks older? Like, make a dude like haunching, it's like he's got bad posture. No, it's all they do is that they just put the custom head on it, right?
Yeah.
So that's all it is.
Yeah.
They make a custom head, and that makes perfect sense. It's like Build-A-Bear Workshop. We were talking about that too.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. That's why I thought of it. But
Very
anyway,
similar.
let's start the show. Like we do.
Let me just get a sip and then I'm in.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that. We're not going to be talking about boobs or the number 69 or the episode 69 because this is episode 68. We're going to go into our particular game that I've been playing, which is a lot of fun. It's got a lot of descriptors that I don't necessarily agree with, but I can tell you sort of the history of them. There are two terms in general. The first being what is called a roguelike. Roguelike games have certain mechanics in them that are like a game that was developed back in 1980 by Michael Toy and Glenn Wincham. And I think we've talked about this on the show before, but they were inspired by the Colossal Cave adventure game that was on some of the mainframes back in the late 70s. And they were into Dungeons and Dragons, so they wanted something that was more representative of what a Dungeons and Dragons experience was like. So they created this game called Rogue, or Rogue Exploring the Dungeons of Doom was the full title. You explore levels of a dungeon and you're seeking a particular amulet located at the dungeon's lowest level. It's sort of a turn-based game and had kind of a grid represented. The original iteration of it had sort of a grid represented by ASCII characters, and each letter or character stood for, either a monster or a treasure or some sort of thing like that. I remember seeing games like that had to do with sort of space battles where they did a very similar thing, but that was much, much later. But as far as trying to represent things on a grid, that's the only way that they could do it on a mainframe. It was a freeware game initially, but then Michael Toy and Glenn Wincham created their own company with a gentleman by the name of John Lane called AI Designs, where they were financially supported by Epix, which is a big gaming company back in the days. I remember buying a lot of Epix games on my Commodore 64. They came out with a version of Rogue for the Commodore 64, and I believed I played it. They replaced the graphics. They added sprites and things to make it more appealing graphically. It was basically a Dungeons and Dragons experience. There were a couple things that were notable about Rogue. Primarily two things, and this is kind of where people use roguelike to describe their games. There is a mechanic, well, I guess it's not really a mechanic, it's more like a rule. Your death is permanent. So you can, when you play through the game, if you die, you have to create a new character, which is very much a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. While they were playtesting this, they found people would do things with saving the game before so they could try and sort of cheat it. So they ended up doing something where it deleted the file. If you died, there was no way you could get it back. So there was no way to kind of cheat death in this instance, which was kind of the point. You can't do that in Dungeons & Dragons unless you have a dungeon master who was willing to bend the rules for you or whatever. And then another thing that was notable about this game was the fact that the dungeons were what they call procedurally generated, which means the computer determines where all the things are, what is contained in the dungeon, the orientation of the dungeon, and so on and so forth. So I always get confused. Well, I don't know about confused. I am not a programmer, but it seems to me that there's a very fine line between randomizing things to fit together and having a computer procedurally generate something. The description that I've heard is randomization is just generating a number or selecting an item from a list using a randomization sort of algorithm, whereas procedurally generated is more complex in the algorithm use as far as generating things. And so a lot of people say procedurally generated, but that doesn't always mean from a programmatic standpoint that it actually is procedurally generated. But anyway, the gist is it's randomized dungeon orientations, right? Those are two notable things about rogue. The term roguelike was coined because there were games that were starting to use those types of mechanics where death was permanent and that dungeons were sort of randomly generated. I don't necessarily think that is, calling something a roguelike is like having a genre of music that is U2-like or Steve Miller-like. I don't think it really captures what the music or game, in this case, is. So I tend to shy away from using those types of descriptions, but if someone recalls it a roguelike, well, I know what it means, and now you do too. The next descriptor of this game that I've been playing, it's called what people refer to as a bullet hell shooter. What a bullet hell shooter is, essentially, it's lots and lots of bullets. Like there are more bullets on the screen almost than other graphics. And these usually happen with boss fights where you are getting to the end of a level and you have to fight a boss, and then all these patterns where you have to anticipate where to move the ship in between the bullets as you are shooting. That's part of what bullet hell means. This style of game originated in the early 1990s. In Japan, it's called danmaku or danmaku. The literal translation is bullet curtain, which kind of gets the point across. A lot of dodging. The first bullet hell game or bullet hell shooter, there is a little bit of contention. It's kind of a semantic argument on this. There was a game that was called Recca, which was developed in 1992. It was just basically a spaceship game. Think of something like Space Invaders with a vertical scrolling on steroids. It was just very intense. If you look it up online, you can see YouTube videos of this game Recca, but the bosses came and there was a lot of fire and bullets that you had to dodge. Some people call that the first bullet hell shooter, but it wasn't quite as, the screen wasn't as intensely bulleted as your modern bullet hell games. Recca was developed by KID and published by Naxat Soft for the Famicom, or as it's known in the United States, the Nintendo Entertainment System. This game has a very large number of sprites, and it was very fast, which was created specifically for the shooting game competition that was hosted by Naxat Soft called the Summer Carnival 92. It was a game that was programmed by Shinobu Yagawa, who later created my favorite, Muchi Muchi Pork. Weird. But anyway, this game was released during a time when generations were switching. So the 16-bit generation was just starting, which means the Super Famicom was becoming more popular. So very few copies of this game were sold. So it's one of the more valuable and sought-after Famicom titles out there. I'm not entirely sure it was released in the United States. So it might be just a Japanese-only sort of thing. Maybe if I ever go to Japan, I'll check out Super Potato and see if they have any copies there, but I don't think they will. What is credited as the first bullet hell game was developed by a Japanese developer called Toplan. They released a game called Batsugun, which was the first bullet hell game where the bosses had these waves and waves of huge patterns of bullets that you had to dodge. But you had various weapons and you leveled it up. It was sort of like an RPG in that way. You had to figure out which way you kind of wanted to, which path you wanted to take. And on a side note, people don't call things RPG-like, as a genre necessarily, but I think there are RPG elements, which is kind of where I think this whole bullet hell thing, it's more the shorthand. And if you are a gamer, you will know these terms. And if you are not a gamer, you probably won't. So yeah, that is a brief history on the games Rogue and the bullet hell shooter. The game that I'm playing right now is a game called Vampire Survivors, which was developed and published by a gentleman by the name of Luca Galante. He started developing Vampire Survivors in 2020 while he was unemployed. He was sort of inspired by a mobile game where it had a character where you were automatically attacking enemies. You just move the character around. And this is sort of a combo between, like I said, a roguelike and a bullet hell shooter where you have to go through and your character starts out with a weapon and some stats. And then each time you complete a level or go so far in a level, you can unlock more characters and they have different weapons, which you can then add to your choice between weapons that you pick up. In certain cases, you can choose between 3 different weapons or 4 as you're leveling up your character. These waves of enemies that are very much bullet hell-like. These different monster enemies come at you, and you have to kind of weave around them and use the whatever weapons that you have to destroy them. And then at a certain point, it can get to a point where if you find the right combination of weapons, where it's just like you're mowing down enemies. So it's kind of reverse bullet hell in that case. It's a fun game. It's been praised for its simplicity and its addictive nature. It did get nominated at the Game Awards for Best Debut Indie Game, but I believe that honor was won by the people who made Stray. But it did win Breakthrough Award for the Golden Joystick Awards. So it's kind of a cool story, this guy who created this game, because it started becoming so popular towards the end of the year, this year, when it was released, a full release for the Mac OS. He'd been developing it pretty much since December of 2021, but then people on Steam, it was released on Steam and people were playing it and testing it. Apparently he spent around £1,100 on assets, art, and music. The music actually is very good too. It's a lot of fun. The whole experience is just really addictive. And if you're really good, each game can last probably about a half an hour if you can survive the waves, which means half an hour of time wasted each time you play it, possibly. But it's a lot of fun. So yeah, really cool. This guy, kind of started out with an idea and he created it and he's doing really well. So kind of interested on where he takes that concept. The graphics are very low tech. They look very much like your classic bullet hell arcade shooters where the characters are very pixelated looking, but it's really, really cool. So highly recommend Vampire Survivors. I think it is now available on Game Pass for free, but that's the first base level. You've got a DLC that just came out probably a month ago. And it's really super cheap. It's like $5. So even if you don't have Game Pass, check it out on Steam. I believe they have mobile versions, but you have to watch ads as you progress. So I think there might be an unlock. I'm not familiar with the mobile versions. Playing it with a joystick is, even though you're just moving it around, that's preferred. I'm playing it on my Mac, so it's a lot of fun. $5 for the base game, and I think the DLC was $3, and I got it on sale, which means I spent $5 for both. So on that note, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in the new year in 2023. Our first episode of the new year will be, as we kind of alluded to in the segment, episode 69, Chaos with Arden. And then after that, the episode trivia, which I recorded with Paul, which is that intro was what that little snippet was from. After that, well, we've got some words that we're kind of trying to figure out when we're going to do them, the guests. We still haven't recorded these episodes. I've been in touch with someone who I've been trying to get on the show to talk about the word fit, but they're going to school and they're doing a lot of stuff with family, so it's been kind of tricky, but that should hopefully be coming out in the first quarter of the new year, 2023. And then I'm going to record a couple of episodes with Norah, one on the word art, after she completes this game called Immortality, which is a game that came out from Netflix recently that was kind of also the talk of the Game Awards because of its interesting story. But we'll talk about that more on the art show, and then also the word mystery. So that's what's coming up. And I just want to say thank you for listening to the Too Vague Podcast. From the Too Vague Podcast and myself, have a safe and happy new year. Have a wonderful night. Bye.